afternoon. Welcome to Pastoral Homestead. It is Saturday, June the 4th. I just got back from summer youth camp with all of my kiddos. We had a great time, just a week-long adventure and fun in Ruidoso, New Mexico, and it was nice and cool down there, and definitely got to get out of the heat and spend some time with my youth group, and some of the moms and dads went with us as counselors, and it was just a really great time. Had a wonderful experience with them all week. And typically, whenever I get back from summer youth camp, my senior pastor, my boss, gives me a day off, which is I usually take it on Monday. And so this year, I thought I would take off tomorrow after church and then go up to the lake. There's a really big lake up north that's kind of bumping with smallmouth bass right now. They're really, the spawn's on, and they're biting pretty well. So I'm going to go up there for a couple of days, actually just Sunday afternoon and most of the day Monday, depending on how well the fish bite. I've been having some problems with my outboard motor, and I know for a fact that it needs the carburetors cleaned and maybe rebuilt. However, I've just decided I'm not going to do anything like that to it until the fall. And so what I'm going to do is a little bit of a clean out with some seafoam and just kind of a maintenance technique, and we'll see if I can get it to at least idle better than it has been. And it's been having some difficulty getting up on the plane and that sort of thing. So I'm going to show you a little trick that we can do with some seafoam, and we'll see if that fixes the problem. Okay, so what I have here is I have just about a 1.5 gallon bucket filled with my oil and fuel mixture, and I mix my fuel for the boat 100 to 1 with 2-cycle oil, and I mixed it just a little bit rich for this because I'm going to add the seafoam to it, which of course doesn't have any oil in it. Seafoam is an amazing product. If you've never heard of it or seen it, you can get this just about anywhere, Walmart, any kind of your auto stores, anything like that. And you can run this straight through any engine. It's completely safe. It's a wonderful product, especially for cleaning out injectors and carburetors and whatnot. So what I'm going to do, it's about to rain, so I'm actually going to put this bucket down here in the bottom so I can close the lid on it, and then we'll connect our fuel hose into that, and we'll just let the engine drain this much fuel with the seafoam in it, and hopefully that will help clear out our carburetor. I got my fuel down here in the bottom of the boat. I'm going to disconnect my fuel line here and place it down there so it can suction that out. So I've got that positioned. I'll add my seafoam next, and we're going to use the whole can. And yeah, it seems like a lot, but the whole purpose of this is to really put this through the carburetor with a whole bunch of this additive, and hopefully that really that helps clean this sucker out. Alright, we've got all that in there. I'm going to mix that up real good. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close this. Not sure how that's going to work. We're actually going to close it on the can there. That'll give enough, that way it doesn't pinch the hose right here. Alright, the next thing we're going to do, we're just going to pump this sucker up, make sure it's got some fuel in there. Alright, that bulb is tight. It's going into here, into the main motor. We'll put the earmuffs on there so we can get some water going to the motor, and we'll start it up. You definitely want to make for sure the water is running full, that you don't have any kinks in your hose, and that you let it run for a minute to get any air out, because you don't want your outboard motor to ever run without water going to it. It will do bad things to it. So make sure that you got plenty of water going into your intake. Alright, we got the water hooked up to the motor. We have the gas seafoam mixture ready to go, and we are going to start it and you just run it until it sucks up all that fuel, and it'll take it a bit, probably 30-35 minutes. And the idea is just to let all that additive get in there and really work through those carbs, and hopefully it'll clean it enough to get me through the summer and early fall before I completely overhaul the engine this winter. And so we're going to start it now. We'll see how she does. It's actually running pretty good right now, so we'll hope that additive really helps out. A couple things you always want to check when you're doing this is to make sure the back of your motor is spitting out water. That means it's drawing the water through the intake, working it through, cooling the motor. You can already hear the difference that additive is making in those carburetors. I think it's going to work out just fine. But you always want to make sure it's spitting out water out of the top, and that way you have plenty of coolant in your motor. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rev it. I'm going to put it in gear, rev it a couple times in gear, and I'm just going to let it run until it runs out of fuel. So we'll check on the outflow of water, make sure that's good, rev it, and we'll see where we are. Sputters a little bit, still catches itself, but all in all, I think this trigger's really worked well. We're about 45 minutes in, and I'll rev it one or two more times, and then it should die out because it's about empty, and then we'll recap kind of at the end. So like I said at the beginning of the video, this engine's going to have to be overhauled in the winter anyway, and we're probably going to rebuild the carburetors and readjust a whole bunch of stuff and redo the spark plugs, all that good stuff. But as of right now, I really didn't want to spend any more money on it than I really had to, and I'd really like to fish it this spring and summer. And so this turned out to be a really quick fix. And so Seafoam, you can find this just about anywhere. They're not paying me to say that, unfortunately, but it's just it's a good product. I took the whole can, and I think which is designed for 20 gallons of gas, and I put it into just a gallon container with my fuel. And I don't know if you noticed, but I mixed it a little rich. There's a little too much oil in it, so it's pretty smoky. And I'm sure my neighbors here just loved me. That gallon of gas actually lasted in that motor idling for over an hour, and I don't know if that's typical. I've never really had an outboard motor before, so I kind of thought that was pretty good fuel economy myself. But again, I'm not 100%. If your engine's running a little funky, if it's sputtering, if it doesn't idle right, if you know you need to do something with your carburetors, this could be a cheap and easy, quick fix to the problem. It probably won't last a long time. Eventually you're going to have to clean your carburetors out, but just to get you through, get you by, this might be a good little trick, and it definitely worked for mine. I don't know if you could really hear it, but at the beginning and versus the end, it sounded night and day different. And tomorrow, whenever I actually go to the lake, I'll be able to open it up, and before the boat would run and it would rise to plane, and it would never get above that position. The engine would bog down before it would go ahead and plane out and then go on top of the water. So tomorrow I'll see if this fixed that little trick where it'll actually rise up to plane and then go ahead and level out and go. So we see if we can fix that. And for about $5,
you know, if that fixes it, that'll sure save me some money until the winter whenever we get a chance to really overhaul the engine. So if you're in a bind, if you got some carburetor issues with your outboard motor, also a lawnmower, probably a chainsaw, anything that runs on 2-cycle engine oil or 2-cycle gas would work with this, I imagine. So if you got any of those things that need just a little bit of a tune-up, this might work for you really well. So hope that helps some of you out there. God bless you guys. Have a great, safe day. We'll catch you next time.